The following episode contains one person's account of the beneficial use of the plant-based herbal brew ayahuasca, which is an illegal drug in certain countries. Any views or opinions represented in this podcast belong solely to the interviewee and do not represent those of the PodBarber staff or associated institutions or organisations. The PodBarber. Coming up on today's show.
My wife, towards the end, she would call up the NHS or 999, whatever she was, and said, I don't think my husband's going to come home from work today. Because I used to sit at the table in the morning having breakfast with the boys, and I used to cry my eyes out in front of them. I was just so depressed and broken. I was so gone. And I can see that people who take their lives and are at that very edge, they're just desperate. They're just not thinking right. They cannot find a way out of it. And like I said, I've been taken to these points. So I really understand people with mental health problems and people who are suicidal, because it took me right to the brink. I was testing the beams in the garage, and I was close to going to get the rope. Just so very, very close to doing it.
You're listening to the PodBarber. I'm championing the chat, proving conversation is the cure to better mental health and well-being. Meet my guests from all walks of life, showing vulnerability and sharing wisdom. Sit in on my chats and be part of reality entertainment. Join the PodBarber tribe. Subscribe, share and like people. Feel the sonic positivity we're pumping right at you. You, my friends, are not alone. Who's next, please? Well, I'll tell you who. We've got Alex Scales on the show today, a 40-year-old Essex boy whom for most of his life has grappled with trauma and carried the heavy burden of depression in some form or another. The impact on such a young mind, a child, is one scary experience, one, as a parent, you wish didn't have to happen. He lived 30 years in his continued aftermath of his crisis, and after weighing him down for so many years, it eventually got too much for him, and his mental health hit the heights of crisis. But through a conversation, he learnt about the powerful natural healing found deep within the Amazon jungle. Tired of man-made medicines and its ineffective support for him, and on hearing how effective and powerful the healing hands of Mother Nature can be, he decided his life was worth living. He turned a corner with the power of ayahuasca, the tribal tea that set him free. Now more focused than ever, he's set on a new course to help others find the nuance of natural cures and to educate those willing to try alternative solutions. Now his dreams are full of light as opposed to the darkness. The one thing that's so important about Alex is that he never gave up hope. Yeah, you heard that right. He never gave up hope. There is hope for us all if we let ourselves live, and it's my absolute pleasure to bring you this Amazon amazing tale to your ears with the help from this courageous man who dreams of healing as many people as possible. It's time to turn the light on his story. Alex, my man, welcome to the show.
Great introduction. It means a lot. Give me goosebumps. Brilliant.
Well, you know that I do a noodle for people.
Yeah.
So here goes, my man. A life of trauma is not what you need. There's a plant-based medicine that might set you free. So you, my friend, have transitioned to shamanism. You drank the brew, it healed you, it opened up your vision. You looked to the forest, the tribes for your cure. Mother Nature can save you with something so, so pure. Depressions, trauma, PTSD. Maybe Mother Nature can set you free. In the Amazon, you can find the ayahuasca retreat. Maybe save your life if you drink this ancient cup of tea. It's his journey, it's his story. He's kind and he's bold. Alex never gave up hope. Let's hear this story unfold. Do you know what? That makes me feel a bit emotional even when I say that.
Yeah.
So welcome, man. Let's just kick off with working out how you've been navigating you and your family through this last year. It's been a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it's been a strange one, but I sort of feel like I've been an observer of it, really. I sort of don't really watch the news or get involved in it too much, as long as my kids are okay, my wife's okay, my dog's all right, I can provide shelter from and food. I think at times like this, just worry about the basic things and try to keep myself out of it as much as possible, because it obviously causes stress. It's actually been good. I tried to turn it into a positive, give me the time to work on my house and sell the house and eventually moving forward into a different avenue, a different path in life. So I've tried to get as many positives out of it as possible. Really worked on myself. Me and my wife have worked on ourselves and tried to get in contact with our spirits and learn who we are and progress in life. And we've used it as a positive, a time to reflect and just let all the madness sort of unfold.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck to that stuff.
No, yeah.
So before we sort of really dive into the story, which from the warm-up, the noodle, is going to be fascinating insight, just tell us a bit more about you. What do you do for work? Who do you work with?
Yeah, I'm a tiler by trade. I work with a local guy called John. Been in Saffron Walden for around 3 years. I'm from Billericay originally. I've lived abroad probably as much as I have in the UK. Lived in France for 8 years. Lived in New Zealand, lived in Canada, lived in Thailand for a bit, soon to move to Italy. So I've had different adventures all over. So all my learning's been through travelling and experience, which I think is, for me, is the best way to learn. Yeah, so even while I was sick, I still tried to get out there and do things. A lot of it was escapism. I started in the print when I left school. That didn't really work out. Then I started getting sick, like I said, and then went into the tiling. I've been doing tiling for 20 years. Done it all over the world and things. It's paid for me to have a reasonably good life and it's served me well, but onto different ventures.
Different part of the journey.
Yeah, different part of the journey now. And I think only now am I really ready. I wouldn't have been ready 10 years ago. I think age is quite an important thing, experience and age. And I never felt like I really fit in. From a young age, I can always remember thinking, just going down the pub and people sniffing gear and things like that and cocaine and all that sort of stuff. I always sort of observed it. I was an observer. I was just sort of looking at it thinking, is this the way to behave? Is this what life is about? Friday, Saturday nights, just going to get paralytic drunk, being sick and not getting up the next day and staying in bed all day. I used to be called the weirdo and things, you know. But I always felt like there was something more to life than that, you know.
It's probably kind of relatable to a lot of people, isn't it? And perhaps they don't have the strength at the time to say no, but yet they're on the receiving end of the bad qualities, the bad times that those nights of debauchery can sort of manifest on somebody, can't they? I mean, the walk of shame, you see them the following day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm no saint, man, but I always think that whenever I've been involved in any of those types of things, I was a happy human being most of the time with a positive outlook, yet a naive attachment to following the crowd. But when I veered off and travelled and learnt the same way as you, the school of life and travels, that was the greatest teacher, man. Yeah. That passing down, and it was done through people. Because everyone always would say, if they know you're a reasonably well-travelled person, where's the best place you've ever been? And they're looking for that material attachment, that highlight, that Instagram post, aren't they? Yeah. Not that it was back then, but it's more a case of you sort of sit there and you think, well, actually, I've been in some of the worst places you could possibly be with the best people. And to me, that's the best at the time. I've been in the best places with the worst people, and it's the worst place ever. It's all about the people, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah, like you said, it's been sitting in little shacks in Thailand, surrounded by people who took me in as part of their family and just so much love.
I think you're a man that's doing a really cool thing. If you're comfortable, I want to get us right down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, mate.
Wherever you're comfortable to start your story, man.
Yeah, I struggled all my life from a very early age, from about the age of probably 6 or 7. From trauma. I had trauma from a very early age. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I was obviously a kid, and I had these native indigenous people who used to come for me, come down the street, and they used to call me, and I could feel them coming down the road, and I used to run into my mum and dad's bedroom and say, Mum, they're coming for me, they're outside, I can feel them. I don't blame my mum at all. She just didn't understand this stuff. She just didn't know what it was. And she'd just say, no, you're just hot, go back in bed. And I would say, Mum, please, I'm not hot. Please help me, I'm not hot. Please, I need some help. You're just hot, go back in bed. So I used to lay in bed and just cry all night. And I'd close my eyes and I'd start to journey or travel somewhere, and it was hard to explain what it was. And I'd lay awake all night, and I remember being tired the day after. And in the end, I used to, because I knew my mum didn't understand it, I knew I couldn't wake her up. So I used to go in her ensuite bathroom, and I used to lie in the bathtub and just lie there crying so they wouldn't come for me, and just shaking. And this only come up a while ago. I realised what trauma this was. I sort of buried it really deep and just forgot about it and just thought, I must just be a mad kid. I must have just been losing my mind or something. Am I just a weirdo or something like that? And only now, when spirit's coming to me now, that I realise it's all right. that little child inside of me is not scared anymore. He's all right. But that was the start of it. And I suppressed that and just tried to forget about it. This feeling of the room closing in and this energy would come to me every now and then, and I'd just sort of ride it out all night. And then I realised that did make me quite angry and aggressive leading into school and things like that. And I had good friends, and I had an amazing upbringing, and my mum and dad were lovely people. I don't blame them, they just didn't understand it. Yeah, so I went into school and I always had a bit of aggression. I just always felt really angry. We started going to the pubs and things like that, and then we was out with some friends and we got into an altercation with some guys, and there was a big fight in the pub and things like that, and one of them chased me home and they beat one of my mates up. One of them punched me and was fighting in the street. But I was, like I said, I was a little boy. I couldn't really protect myself, and so we went back to find my mate and we bumped into him again, and something happened, and one of them got injured, and there was a background story to this. We didn't start it. They chased me all the way to my house, to my front door. They was older than me. One of them did get hurt, but they was the ones who instigated it. They said they were going to get me, and they followed through with it, and they hurt my mate. They beat somebody up badly before who was associated with me, and so I went to prison. Back then you was in your cell for 23 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So you're just sitting there and you obviously lots of thinking, and I am quite a deep thinker, and just, when I come out, I do this, I do that, everything will be all right and fine. And I come out and then the shit just really hit the fan, and going out drinking, I would just be so aggressive and lots of anger and hate about everything, the situation. It's always sort of post-traumatic stress. It really kicks in after. And it just spiralled out of control. The drinking, the drugs. I've never been a big drinker, but I had to get paralytic drunk just to give me that little bit of relief. Couldn't be around too many people. That's why I went travelling. I went travelling with some friends originally. That was nice and got a bit of relief. And as soon as I come back, boom, it's just start straight over again.
Back on it.
Yeah, just straight away. I just couldn't be myself, and it was so frustrating. So again, it would all start spiralling out of control. Well, I'm going travelling. Everyone's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going travelling. Gone again. Just travelling on my own. Couldn't really be around people, and went to Thailand and do some Thai boxing to protect myself so I wouldn't have to get in that situation again, and I could stand up for myself and go about things the right way, and again, learn from my lesson. I can't do that again. I can't sort of hurt somebody again. I have to learn how to learn a martial art to protect myself and do it the right way, being able to stand up for myself. That gave me a bit of relief, and the exercise, and kept me going. Had some good experiences, but again, come back, run out of money, back to Billericay, in the pubs, boozing, again, spiralled out of control. So, ended up moving to France, met an Italian lady, got together there, was living in the sunshine. The sunshine's always given me a bit of relief, but again, I was away from it all. All my problems were in England. It was weird, I was more comfortable around her family from Italy. It was like my surrogate family, and that was nice, and sort of had my kids over there. But it was really difficult because I was like, when my kids are born, surely all this nonsense is going to disappear. I'll never be anxious again, and it would be fine. And it just wasn't the case, and it destroyed me. It was like, oh no, I can't pass this on to the kids. I can't let my kids see me be like this. I've got to be the best dad I can, and that was really difficult for me, and that sort of set me off again because I couldn't take the kids to parties and things like that. Again, being around people was just too much. A couple of times the kids missed out on some parties and stuff because I just couldn't go. I can't even look back at old photos now because I might have been sitting there with them smiling, but I know inside my brain was just chaos. And my wife says I really never let it affect them, but I just kept it all inside, and it was just turmoil inside my head, but I always made sure they was all right and they couldn't see it. And that was one of my main goals, to get better. Well, I cannot let this affect my kids growing up. I've got to find something. I tried everything. The Western doctors threw at me. Right, try this pill. All right. We don't know what to do with you. Try this Xanax. Oh, it's making me feel worse. It's making me feel worse. Talk to somebody over the phone. Tried acupuncture, hypnotherapy, done that. Took flowers, St. John's wort, ginseng, every single thing you can think of. I've done every single antidepressant you can think of. I've done it in France. I went to the doctors in New Zealand. I was living in the most beautiful place in the world in New Zealand, Queenstown, surrounded by mountains. Lived there for like a year and a half. Amazing, but I still couldn't truly be myself. And so even in these beautiful places, it was still there. My wife, towards the end, she would call up the NHS or 999, whatever she was, and said, I don't think my husband's going to come home from work today. Because I used to sit at a table in the morning having breakfast with the boys, and I used to cry my eyes out in front of them. I was just so depressed and broken. I was just gone. I just wasn't there. And I can see that people who take their lives and are at that very edge, they're just desperate. They're just not thinking right. You can never blame them or anything. It's just so desperate. They cannot find a way out of it. And like I said, I've been taken to these points. So I really understand people with mental health problems and people who are suicidal, because it took me right to the brink. I was testing the beams in the garage, and I was close to going to get the rope, just so very, very close to doing it. And just suicidal thoughts all the time. The end of it is I tried all these things. I never give up. So for 33 years of trauma, I realised I'm very mentally strong. A lot of people would have ended it way before that. But I was going to go to a yoga retreat. It was like the last thing for me. I heard about ayahuasca on a podcast, funny enough. Mm-hmm. See? So again, what you're doing now is important, getting this stuff out there for people. Because
that's what we're trying to do,
yeah. It's vital. I'm sitting here because of people like you, getting these things out. And I just heard it, and you know when you hear something, you think, wow, I've seen Bruce Parry. You know, he'd done a documentary on it. He used to go into the jungle and stuff like that.
And that was back when it was like Channel 1, 2, 3, 4. He was an amazing
explorer
producer,
sort of thing.
Adventurer.
That's it. Yeah,
he gave such an insight. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so I heard that on the podcast, and I was like, So I was going to book the yoga retreat. That just popped up because they advertised on these yoga retreat websites. I just went booked it. And I went home and I said to Leslie, I booked ayahuasca. She's like, what's that? I was like, don't really know. It's like a medicine, but a plant medicine or something. I'll try it. She's like, yeah, she's been so supportive. She's amazing. Yeah, go. I thought that was my last.
You've exhausted everything.
Yeah, last go sort of thing, you know. So this company called APL, they bring traditional shamans over from Peru. They do it in Spain and Portugal where it's legal. So you go to a nice villa. They rent these really big villas, swimming pools and nice rooms and stone floors and really clean and nice. It's just making it more accessible for Westerners because a lot of people don't want to go trekking in the jungle. And
well, if you're anxious already, let's face it, going into an environment like that, you're going in for the sense of you're not a thrill-seeking adventurer. Man, you've got a beam that's got a rope in your head already. You've got a plan. Yeah. So you're diverting and you're just going to try and find the safest place for you.
Yeah. And that's one of the key things is setting and how safe you feel during the ceremony. But I'll never forget sitting around the pool when I first got there. They welcome you and stuff like that. And I just sat there and thought, how did I get here? How did I end up here? This is mental. And was going into the ceremony. I just didn't know what to expect. You sit there, 12 of you, all in a circle. You've got the shaman and the facilitators, the guy called Boris who runs it, APL. He's one of the most amazing people you could come across. He's not from here. You just look at him and just think, where does he come from? He's something different. And he just makes you calm and stuff. But I didn't know what was going to happen. I just didn't know what it was. So I drunk it, and after that first ceremony, I was cured. Like that. I've never been anxious since. Never had a suicidal thought. Never been depressed that was 16 months ago. I've done another 2 ceremonies after it that fixed me, and it opened my eyes again to spirit. Spirit come to me during the ceremony. I saw my dad. I saw my granddad and my nan and my best friend's dads who had passed away. I saw them. They come to me. It was a lot to take, but as soon as I went into this other realm, and it's more real than here, it's hard to explain. there's this other things, there's spirits and there's plant spirits, and we're in contact with them, and there's shamans and things. It was just so fascinating. Straight away I knew that I wasn't crazy as a little boy. I wasn't. This stuff is real. So the first ceremony was an introduction. The second ceremony was really hard, gritty. They give you a bit more of a dose, and all my anger come up inside me. Some of the family members who have hurt me, and different people who have hurt me, and some of the bad things I've done to people, and it all come up, and I was on the floor just screaming, and just loads of anger, all my anger that I had inside of me because of the way that I was, and I couldn't control it. It was just all spilling out of me, and you release it, and then you can deal with it. You know, it can be really difficult. Some people have blissful ones, some people have really, really hard ones, but you always get something out of it. Anyway, there's a third ceremony. I didn't feel like I needed it anymore, so I said, look, I think I'm okay. So they started the ceremony without me. I fell asleep, and they offer you 1 cup, then after 30 minutes a second cup, and then you can have a third cup. I sort of woke up after the second cup, and I just got a feeling of, I do, Boris, I'll have the third cup. Okay, drank the third cup, and that was when these things, don't know what they were, they was in my head. I could feel them snipping about, and like a surgery of your subconscious and your spirit and your soul. It's fascinating stuff, and that was hard because they closed the ceremony, but because I'd done it later on, mine carried on, and I was lying on the settee, and I was sort of going on this little journey, and these things were fixing me up. But I needed that. That was the patching up of sorts, you know. So if you go and get an operation, fix everything, and then they start sewing it all up and cleaning the wounds and things like that. That's how I'd translate it. My life started again. I truly believe it is for everybody who's brave enough, but it takes a lot of work. They say integration after. I'd just come out of a lifetime of trauma, depression and darkness. I was alive. I was so happy to be alive. I was like a little kid again.
6 or 7 years old, to have spirits come to you, obviously with that lack of knowledge and understanding. I mean, such a frightening exposure to the spirit world. The world that you've then fast-forwarded to being the cure is the same thing that was calling you.
Yeah.
It's kind of mad.
It is.
And that word in itself is the wrong word to use because it's more profound. To not have that borrowed history from your forefathers as you would in a tribal shaman sense. The word shaman has been introduced by the West. But to them, they're just the elders of the village that have taken the training. So those people know what's coming. They know what happens. They're the centre of that community. You've, for the reasons that I think I know why, from just feeling what I'm feeling from you, I see that you transcended from something else, from something much more connected to the conscious, the awareness. But at that age, you had no awareness. You had no healing hand. And as this progressed, I say on so many occasions, if it doesn't heal, it repeats. And there was no one to heal and to guide. Yet these guides were coming to you and they were reaching to you. That manifested to this naive, innocent child who we all already perceive, you should be happy, you should be this. You're coming to me afraid with these things. They then put back. So the trauma was not necessarily the spirits coming to you. It was the reaction. Those around you accidentally prejudging. You've not been listened to. There was a doubt coming in. And that is what's been magnified in that young man, that young child. And then that's grown. To end up with a plan, when you've got a suicide plan, which you had, and you're telling this to health professionals, to, I presume, friends, family, you're reaching out, you're clearly, like a tree, you've put branches out to every possible cure, and nothing has held your leaf. Nothing from the material world, the man-made baton of
Western
options.
world,
But that's the reality that so many people that are on the edge have. And there are numbers you can phone. There are these the Samaritans, there's mind, there's lots of talking therapies, there's lots of beneficial things, but really it does stem back to a simple conversation and more non-judgmental understanding. That's the start. It's just one of the prongs on the fork, one of the branches of the tree of healing. And I'll use the word tree because Mother Nature knows how to do this better than man.
It does. They don't have a word for anxiety in Peru, and the Buddhist monks, they don't have a word for it. In Peru, when there's some trauma and stuff like that, kids microdose ayahuasca. Mm-hmm. They take these things from a very young age. They clean all their problems up.
You look at the origins of the psychoactive studies and science and all sorts of things, and I am no expert, and I'm not even going to try and pretend that I am. But you know what? The self-proclaimed bloody experts aren't either. No. They haven't got a clue. I would say that when antidepressants came out, it was a sort of a borrowed technology from something else that basically did something. Then the drug companies, the cronyism that surrounds profiteering, said, well, this is something that we can give you as a tool. Yes, there was some people that believed that could help. It came from a kind place and at the same time an unkind place of greed. And you put those two things together, you create these tablets and you say, well, you're on sales, mate. You know, that's basically what they are. Those 10-minute appointments, those phone calls, they tell you that you've got to trust doctors. And I think doctors and I think modern medicine has exactly an equal place on the planet for when you need it. But for the trouble of our mind, for the trouble of these traumas, I think they just add to it and they ignite it, and it gives like a conduit to those evils to really get hold, really get a grip of people. And actually, I don't see many people that benefit largely. It might knock their feelings out and it might keep them on the level, but maybe they didn't need to go to that. Maybe with meditation, with good breathing, with exercise, with...
Taking an antidepressant is their travelling, is their escapism. You're just taking these tablets to escape these feelings and these problems. I mean, on a different path now, trying to help people, guide people to different things and try different things. And with my experiences, I'm seeing it firsthand that people are trying to come off these medications and they are on the floor, they're on their knees, where they've taken them over a long period of time.
Like before you started the treatment, did they make you... We talked about purging. Really, to anyone that doesn't understand what that means, the spiritual idea is that you, certainly in a tribal sense, would be that you were ridding yourself of the evil spirits.
Yeah.
Because the evil
spirits... It's not
so
much the evil spirits, it's just the energy. You haven't really got... It doesn't work like you haven't got evil spirits in you. It's just the dirty, dark emotions that are tied up in you. It's just getting all them out. You're purging all of that. You're bringing that all up. It's fascinating. The shaman's doing his song and he's singing his Icarus and... People are purging and being sick, and that puts people off. And I don't want to go and be sick. It's beautiful. It's there's a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm to the purging. People are being sick. People are moaning. Some people laugh, and there's a rhythm to it. There's everybody's energy, and the shaman's going around, and the shamans they keep the bad spirits away. They can control the plant spirits. They send them to heal you, and then if you're going too far, and he brings you back, and he comes over and he blows some smoke on you and just settles you down again, and you have a quiet period, and then it just all starts again, and then the purging starts as soon as you start singing the Icarus, and now all the energy in the room comes up, and the noises and the scream and stuff like that. It's a beautiful rhythm of healing, you know, and it just works. I found
it
just works.
From your story, and I do think it makes a difference that you were 6 or 7, and I do think that plays a huge role in how this bound to you, because natural cures will do different things to different people because of what they have within them, and how that it needs to work with you, the shaman needs to work with you, with how the purge happens. And I think with different people that you have to respect the fact that they are going to have a different experience, and it's how your innocence before you went was just beautiful.
Yeah.
You hadn't given yourself any concern. You tried everything else. You were just so open, and basically that meant that it was so easy for them to connect and to help shape that experience and that healing process. I think with some people, the fear and intensity, they would fight harder. You mentioned about the hard work. Yeah. This is not like going out and having a trance party. And, people that think that we're here talking about something that's powerfully fun, powerfully...
This is a medicine.
This is a cure. I think that's important to mention that, because I think there's a lot of different angles that you can see. Ayahuasca and any natural medicine, there's a limit to the production of this. There's a limit to what the West can do destructively to these areas. And if you look what happens as science and big companies, big pharma see, and as more evidence comes out, my biggest fear would be that they'd start to pillage and harvest way too much. It would desecrate the tribal standings, because it would dilute the truth and that ancient, I would look at it like an ancient coded technology of naturalness. How are we going to protect that element as we go forward? Because some people are thrill seekers. Yeah. They will naturally think, I want to go tripping on that, because it's put in a bracket of hallucinogenics. It's a terrible...
Exactly, but I've seen somebody who's in my group who went for that very reason. Mm-hmm. He was so violently ill that the medicine threw him out of the ceremony. He was making demonic noises and he didn't take the diet seriously. They took him out of the ceremony, basically said to him, you come back when you come in for the right reasons and you're ready. This is not a party drug. This is serious. Yeah. Getting into your subconscious, your soul, digging deep as you can. It can be a horrendous experience. Going back to what you're saying, we're already butchering it. There's more Western so-called shamans.
Charlatans.
Yeah. Frauds giving the medicine than there is Peruvian traditional ones. Well, I've had an experience recently with somebody very close to me, and we've seen the other side of it. The guy did know his stuff. These shamans, they have to live in the jungle in isolation. They learn how to control the plant spirits and things like that. And it takes 10 to 12 years to really learn how to hold ceremony. He'd done it. He wasn't ready. He took too much on. And somebody close to me went, still got a lot out of the medicine, but he nearly lost control and nearly didn't get this person back and some others in the ceremony. Once they're gone, you can't get them back. They come back different. Yeah, so I'm saying there's a dangerous aspect to it. Yeah, you have to know where you're going. I
think that's a really important note, because actually it's vital that people realise that this is something that's dangerous. You don't fully understand, and there are so many, with everything in life, there are so many synthesised versions. It's so dangerous. You've got to do your research. You've got to be ready. And you said it is for everyone. It's not, and it shouldn't be, because there's not enough of it. Mostly, if we stopped at 6 or 7 years old and learned how to talk, we could allow this to regrow, develop, and serve only the passage of trauma that sits deeper within. We don't need mastery over everything. We need open-minded about everything. We need knowledge and testament and understanding and continued learning.
The thing with Westerners is ego, mass ego. People are becoming so-called shamans and healers and putting it on their Facebook pages. I'm a healer and stuff like that. Some are, don't get me wrong, and some are, but the medicine does the healing, and it's not you. You're the channel for these things. Yeah. You're part of it. You are not doing the healing.
You've already got medicine. It wrong if you're going for your hashtags.
Yeah. And people are posting. They're on Instagram and stuff like that. The true shaman, if you read about it, from the jungles, they do not live in the communities, because they don't want the praise. They don't want the praise to affect them. They live outside the communities, and the people go to them into their little spaces in the jungle. They get healed and they go back. It's important to get it out there that these things are they're not to be played. I know somebody who has died from drinking too much and taking painkillers. He done it purposefully, but it said on his bottle, if you drink with these, you will die. It's the same as ayahuasca. If you drink alcohol and drink ayahuasca, you will most probably die.
Yeah.
These are serious medicines. They have to be done in serious environments with the traditional shamans, facilitators who have been around it for a long time. I know somebody on my retreat, she's drunk a lot of ayahuasca. She's holding ceremony with 10 people. She's giving the medicine to 10 people by herself. She will end up killing somebody or they will not be able to come back. A guy on our resort, Jim, his son is a facilitator. The facilitators help the shamans. They walk around attending to people's needs during the ceremony, calming people down and cleaning them if they need to be. He has said that he's seen 3 shaman and 1 person trying to get the bad energy out. There's bad spirits come in and singing the Icarus and getting the bad spirits away, the bad energy and bringing them back. And this person knows none of this stuff. She has no knowledge. She's never been to the jungle in her life. So you're talking about real frauds here. He said, I've took the medicine loads of times. Yeah, I've been to the doctors loads of times. I've had loads of antibiotics. But I don't make antibiotics and I don't give them out to people. These things are medicines for people with mental health problems and trauma. You have to ask, where does your shaman come from? What kind of ayahuasca medicine is it? Because the Westerners, they put hallucinogenics with the medicine just to send people on.
Coca leaves as well, different sort of stimulants.
It's already started. You have to. Is the shaman traditional? What space is it in? Is it a dark space? How many facilitators are there? You have to ask all these questions. Make sure you do the diet properly, and these messages need to get out there. But this is the same as going to hospital. You wouldn't get on the piss and drink if you just the day before you went in for a heart operation or something like that.
In that desperate situation, when you found out about that, so you heard a podcast, you. Naturally, your sixth sense was just like, yeah, put that. Went back to your missus. Did you do the research? Because you were supposed to go nil by mouth of red meat, pork, all sorts of stuff. Did you take in some of the things that perhaps that in retrospect, oversight now, that potentially can affect?
No, I've done it. I don't know if that's the kind of person I am. I've done the diet longer than I had to. I don't know if it was
you did your research, you did
I
fully...
Yeah, I knew, I didn't know much about it, but I read about it. You have to do this diet, no tyramine, low tyramine diet, no salt, no pepper, no oil.
No alcohol, no antidepressants, nothing.
No, you just rice, vegetables, which, that's good for you.
Getting your body ready.
I've done it, you're supposed to do it really properly a week before. I've done it 10 days, 2 weeks before. But desperation... probably played something, but respect.
I'd be the same as you.
Yeah, I had respect for it.
What's modern science now? Like, how do you see them supporting this?
I think they've got no choice. I think it cannot be denied. You see, there's articles coming out in The Independent, the BBC are writing articles about psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and I try and try and help people and guide them in different directions. I've probably got 10 people, realistically, to try microdosing. Well, go here, this guy can send you the little pills in a microdosing form and stuff like that. Probably 5 or 6 of them have come off of antidepressants, gone onto the psilocybin, and amazing effects.
And is that synthesised psilocybin?
No, just magic mushroom. I don't even like calling them magic mushrooms.
No, because it's a silly name. Yeah, it's been branded. It's a
that's the thing. That's what they call them.
Basically, it's a fungi. Even when you say it like that, it's a fungi. It's a forest medicine. It's an ancient forest medicine.
Exactly.
The actual ayahuasca itself is
they're similar molecules.
Yes, they are. It's a tree and it's the leaf. There's
the vine,
thousands of plants that sit within the Amazon. I've been in there. It's an amazing place. It's well worth going. You don't need to go there for just a retreat. Just go there for nature bathing, forest bathing, support like proper environmental tourism. It's a wicked thing to do. Open your eyes up. But you've got this, out of all of these things, how did they come to that recipe? They'll have different waterfall, they'll have different soil structure depending on the supportive plants, depending on the deforestation. How do they sort of maintain like a real quality brew?
It comes from the ayahuasca vine, but it shows you that because there's 2 components of it. If you drink one part of it, there's Cappy B, and then there's another component. And if you drink one on their own, nothing happens. But this other part is an inhibitor. And if you drink them together, then that's when the magic happens. But they're saying, how did these tribal people learn how to... It's a knowledge that was given to us from somewhere. I don't know, like I said, I don't go too far, I don't know where it's come from, but that is a knowledge that come from somewhere.
I refer to it as an ancient coded technology.
Yeah, massively, because they would never have known, right, let's brew this plant and let's put these together and drink this and see what happens. It doesn't work like
There's
that.
there's some arguments that sort of say this is just a little bit of so listening to some of the stuff on it, that they think that the leaves would have naturally have fallen in at times, and then they're like, it could have been like that. This is now something different. But you add in the ritual practice, you add in the 10 to 12 years, we'll call it an apprenticeship for the Western man to get what we're talking about here. Yeah. It made me think straight away of, if you really can't understand sort of like a plant-based medicine, I wrote down 7 years training needed to fully dissect a blowfish just to get the one piece out that's not going to murder you.
Right, yeah.
But that's like playing Russian roulette with some mad chef. Yeah. I mean, that ain't going to do you any good. Yeah. It's just a bit of fish, mate. Yeah. This is a cure, so it's so much different. But both things can take your life. So if it helps you sort of relate to think, if you still think, I don't know what they're going on about, it's like that. There is parts of the natural world that have been coded by our ancestors for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
These things go back thousands of years. They're finding psilocybin basically is what created religion. A lot of the visions and the feelings comes from that. They're finding it in the old texts and the scripts and some of the pictures, and they used to do ceremony with these brews with psilocybin in it, with the wine and stuff like that, and that's how they saw these different beings. And these have been in our history for thousands and thousands of years. In India, they worship the cow. They don't eat beef. Psilocybin grows in cow dung. Yeah. They grow from there. That's why they worship the cow, because these magical things that have been given to us come from somewhere amazing. People don't understand this. Again, I'm going to learn to go to the jungle myself, and I want to be involved in ayahuasca, be a facilitator.
So just to bring this one up to speed, when you took your retreat, it was in a European with shamans
from Peru.
We'll use the word transcended from the jungle to help Westerners.
Yeah, to make it more accessible.
Yeah, to create a safe space, but to recreate. So we've managed to sensitively synthesize, forgetting the charlatans and the crooks and criminals, because that's just putting bad press on this. We're now just going to focus on the positive. So
there's only positive if it's done right.
Exactly.
There's only positive.
Exactly. Because you're talking about people that are currently willing to take their own life because they're just grappling and wrestling with, they're unable to navigate their shit that they're in. You had so many draws to do that. You didn't do that. There are loads of people that do that. It's got to be worth a shot, hasn't it? It's got to be, when we think we're willing to take these drugs that are called antidepressants, which we haven't got a clue what they do, because we're talking about something that affects the consciousness, the space inside of your two ears. If you close your eyes, if everyone listening closes your eyes, just think to yourself, what can you see? You can see something, can't you? Where are you seeing that from? You're seeing that from somewhere, from something. If you react to something with an emotion, that then sets off something inside you. That's a little trauma. That's a little trauma that adds to the trauma of the experience of what a lot of people in the Western world go through. You might not associate it with that, but then when you come to a different thing, you've already shut down one passageway. You've already started to go down that route where you are reacting from this borrowed information as opposed to something more within the subconscious, more within your own awareness. I think you have to activate your mind to say, I'm going to do this for this. And we set
you have to search for yourself.
A routine before we started this, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had a little ceremony, didn't we?
Yeah.
You helped us think of why we were grateful.
Yeah, gratitude's a big thing. I think starting off your day with gratitude. What have I got? Like this big American thing. Oh man, you got to earn a living, and what do you need to live? What's a living? Tell me what a living is. A living is having food, having shelter, having friends and family, laughing and having fun. That's a living. That's living to me. Going down the beach every now and then, and if you can afford a little holiday and stuff like that. But living's just having good people around you, people who love you for who you are. That's enough, isn't it? That is enough.
Actually, you made a point earlier. It isn't. if you don't start loving yourself first.
Got to, yeah. Got to be happy with who you are, and that's a really important thing. I can look in the mirror now. And another thing, after I took the medicine and I come back, I rung lots of people up and apologised. Lots of people. Rung a guy up in France who I got aggressive with towards the end, and I rung him up out of the blue, and it's probably a couple of years after, and I said, Glenn, I said, I'm really sorry for the way I behaved. I said, that was bang out of order. I was sort of really close to the edge and thinking about killing myself, and the stress I put on you and the anger I put towards you, that was really unnecessary, and for that I'm really sorry. It was never about you. You was a good guy and you give me work, and I appreciate everything you've done for me. And he said, oh, thanks so much. I knew you was all right. He said, I knew there was something wrong with you. He said, I really appreciate that. That's fine. Rang up a girlfriend. I'm sorry I just left you like that. I was just really ill. She's like, I thought about it for years. What had I done and things like that. I said, look, it was never you. I said, I loved you at the time. You're an amazing person. I'm really sorry for what I'd done, just leaving you like that. I just couldn't be around anybody. It was just too much for me, and explained it. I thanks so much. Yeah, so just getting all that off your chest, and these medicines just make you a better person. I've only got love inside me. I just want to love people and help people and just be the best version of myself I can.
I can tell. If there's someone that you haven't got their number, you've got no connect with, the sharing of this it is part of therapy. It's part of healing in itself.
Just get it off your chest.
Don't get hung up on it. If you leave one seed of doubt, or if you think, I'll just dip back into my old life, you're going to grow the darkness back. And, mate, I can tell there's light. There's so much light in what you're saying, how you're articulating your experience.
I truly believe experience is everything. When I was ill, I felt like I was the only one in the world who was ill.
So lonely.
Because I never heard it. Nobody was talking about it. You'd hear the odd thing, and I was looking at everybody's Facebook things, and these people are all going out for dinner and they're all so happy and they're posting these pictures. I was like, I'm the weirdest geezer in the world. I'm mental. And that's why it's so important to say to people, mate, you're not the only one. And that's the good thing about the ayahuasca retreats as well. It's a group therapy thing. I got as much out of sitting down, listening to everybody's stories than I did from the medicine, just as much. Never sit there, if anybody just never sit there and say, there's people worse off than me and I shouldn't be moaning. It's all right. You got your own personal story, your own personal
Love
fights
yourself
and
first.
things.
Don't feel guilt for your turmoil.
Yeah,
it's yours and you're allowed to have it.
Trauma's trauma. Don't matter where it comes from, in what form it is. It could be a car crash you've been through, and the very first start is just getting it off your chest. But going back to what we were saying about these medicines and these plants.
Do you and your kids hug trees?
I talk to the trees all the time. I can put my hands on my trees and I can feel them.
Yeah.
I can feel the energy from the trees, and just being in the jungle, I think that alone could change your life.
Yeah.
I think being in nature, that helped me regularly. Even just getting away and sitting in it deeply for a week on your own. I think that is enough to change your life.
Retreat, commune, organic,
Yeah.
natural.
We eat plants to survive.
The plants that we eat, and I respect veganism, I respect people that eat well-sourced meats, fishes. I think there is a sustainable amount of everything if we look after and nurture everything. There is so many different faceted areas that you can observe your own mental health, your own well-being from, and different people are going to need to pull from different things at different times. So firstly, you need to be open-minded. Secondly, you need to get that conversation going, get some confidence. Then you need people to listen. And I think this is a great way to work out how to listen, because it's a really hard thing to do. It's an active thing.
It's a skill, isn't it?
It is a skill.
Yeah.
It is a skill. So if you spell out on a bit of paper, as you're sitting there now at home, the word listen, scramble it about and see what you can spell. I'll give you a couple of seconds. The word's silent. That's how you listen. And you look at one another and you feel it. If you look into someone and they look into you, if they're sharing something that they need to, you're going to feel that. I genuinely think that you will. You've just got to be more porous to your fellow human. I've taken training in listening. I'm still reading a book that Howie, sitting out there, who is an amazing man to teach you.
He's a nice souled man. And I like him already. He's somebody you just look at and just think, he's a nice guy.
You just got to be in his sphere, man. And that's why we're together. You learn from others from what you're doing, so you have to have that observation. But you've got to observe yourself. It's around my barber's chair.
Do you talk about how serious does it get when you're in the barber chair and you're talking to people? Does mental health issues come up? How deep does it go? Does it really start?
There's a stopping point on the basis that there's sometimes the barrier of time, a queue. But we've now changed that to allotted times. And I put my ego down in the bucket outside the door, and I do love myself because I know that those conversations at times lead to someone feeling better, even if it's just a micro dose of conversation, because it gives them a bit of confidence, it gives them a stimulation. I suppose the best way would to be asked what happens in and around the chair would be to see what my customers say. I know what I feel. I know the moments with certain people, with certain moments, how important that is for both of us. And that exchange is so important. Two-way street. So you've got this bit of land in Italy?
Not yet. The house is up for sale now. We're selling the piece of land. Our aim is to making that safe space for people. Right, you're going to come here. You're going to take shoes and socks off. You're going to ground your feet. It's going to be in the mountains. There's going to be I'm not going to be able to hear the drone of traffic everywhere you go. I try and find peaceful places here. Everywhere I go, I hear that noise of the motorway.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
You cannot get away from it. You cannot find that silence, that bit of nature.
Underwater.
And I'm going to have a space where people just come and put their phones away, hopefully. Again, we won't tell anybody to do anything, but hopefully come there, just switch off. I genuinely just care for other people's well-being. These things have given me so much. Now it's my time to give back. I'll never let it take over from me trying to be the best dad in the world and best husband. But my life from this point forward is just about helping people heal themselves. You can only do it yourself. You can only take the step yourself. When you're ready, you've got to stand up and say, I need some help. Put your hand up. Reach out for yourself. What you're doing is amazing. Just getting things out there and you're important part of the community that people can maybe come to you and say, I'll get in touch with that.
Mate,
Alex Guy and other people
we're connected, dude. Yeah. And so we're mates. Yeah. We're done. That's it. That's forever now. So come and see me. You don't have to book up and have a haircut. No. But as things relax, then there's going to be more people. There's other barbers in the town that I'm connected to. There's other areas, there's other churches, there's other all sorts of things. I think you just need to get in. People want to help, people want to listen, people are going to want to learn. I think we need to wrap this up. I just want to say a huge thank you, because this show doesn't happen without people stepping up. But you've come in here, you've shown tremendous courage to tell your tale. I think, talk about stimulants, mate. You've stimulated such a force within me, and it's just underpinning the effort that we all need to make. Yeah. I thank you wholly. And on that note, peace, good love, and power to your day, my man.
You too. Thanks for having us. Good man. Thank you, brother.
The PodBarber is a That Media and Design production, with Mickey at the mic and Howie at the controls. If you've been affected by any of the topics in this show, you can find more helpful information on the episode's page at thepodbarber.com and search The PodBarber on social, and let's get connected.